Hi there, my name is Corey Jensen. This is assignment 1 for class 304. We chose an article and made a summary of it and a connection with our current learning material. I chose the article Consumers Can Sabotage Their Energy Conservation Efforts, written by Tracy Watson from USA Today. As a summary for the article I chose, it talked about how Congress passed energy conservation bills with the goal of cutting back energy consumption amongst consumers in the United States. And the initial results of all of these conservation efforts were small to little impact at all. So Congress had passed many different types of bills implementing different energy efficient houses to appliances and different methods like when to use your washer and dryer and so on. Well, a lot of consumers thought that with the purchase of efficient appliances that they were actually able to use them more often, and this had a negative effect. Actually, it was called the Snackwell method, and with that, it meant that, I have a quote, it could be doing that, excuse me, it could be that by doing something virtuous, it gives us a license to do something indulgent somewhere else. And that was a quote from Lauren Lutzenheiser from Portland State University. And what she's explaining is that if we, for example, if we worked out at the gym and then we thought we could eat the cookie afterwards, not necessarily true. The focus of having the energy efficient appliances in homes was so that we could cut down our consumption. And so after this little impact was made, Congress then passed reimbursement programs. And this was to help motivate consumers to actually follow through and make those cutbacks themselves instead of just relying on their appliances. And they also made new inventions of devices that helped monitor exact energy uses so that consumers were able to see exactly where they were going and using these energy appliances, how often they were using them, for how long. And then it gave feedback on how they could make better choices and to lower their energy. So the first connection I made from the text to our learning material was compensation. Compensation, defined by our textbook, Sage Vantage, is a business designs and implements a compensation system to focus worker attention on the specific efforts the organization considers necessary to achieve its desired goals. So for me, the text was explaining how Congress had implemented bills for energy efficiency with consumers. And later, as a result, they were not getting what they were hoping for. So they decided that it was a good idea to implement some sort of benefit for the consumer. In this case, it was reimbursement programs, stimulus packages, different forms of benefit for the consumer to help them reach their goal of energy conservation. So that was a really big connection made. The next one was performance management as defined by our textbook, the process of identifying, measuring, managing, and developing the performance of the human resources in an organization. So it is a systematic analysis and measurement of worker performance and communication of that assessment to the individual that we use to improve performance over time. Through performance management, people need to be evaluated for current performance and potential promotions. So what this means to me is that when we are evaluated on our current actions and performance levels, and then we are introduced with the results of those, we are either able to get praise for how well we're doing, or we have constructive um, criticisms that will help us to be better as a collective towards the goal that we are all trying to reach. And I think this is a really big point because as a connection to the article, the devices that were made to measure the efficiency of your house and what it is that you're using. And then the consumer is then able to go back, review, and make adjustments where it's needed. This is the same sort of thing. On a business level, everybody needs from time to time some adjustments made. So we fall into habits, and those can be changed if we are faced with them by some outside source that helps us to recognize where we can benefit. As my first discussion question, it is, how much compensation do you require to complete a difficult task? Now, this is a very broad question, and I meant it to be because I hoped it was going to be as open-ended as possible to engage with as many people as possible. And for me, my first thought of a difficult task is taking the garbage cans out the night before the garbage truck arrives. We have a very long, steep driveway, and it is my least favorite thing to do. So my compensation to myself after doing that is either like a big chocolate chip cookie or my favorite movie turned on, but that is the same concept that we're going for. So it just depends on what the task really is, but how much compensation is required for that to motivate a person enough to really get up and get after it and get it done, and then feel like their efforts were rewarded afterwards. My second discussion question is, how do you feel after receiving constructive feedback? Again, this is another very broad, open-ended question because in life and in business, you can receive constructive feedback from so many different outlets. For me, my first and most common constructive feedback outlet is from my son, who comes home every day after school and likes to tell me how I did on making his sandwich that day. It could be on the type of bread I used, or the type of jelly I picked, or lunch meat for a different type of sandwich. But he has given me feedback on what worked with him and what he would hope for me to do in the future. And me taking that feedback in is helping me to get to a better place of, he's happy with this and I made that for him, both good and constructive in the sense that he's going to eat what I made, and so both goals are met. Thank you so much for listening to my assignment, reflecting with me on the summary that I made, the connections that were made to that summary of the article, and going with me on my 2 discussion questions. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. This was very interesting, and I hope to hear back from you. And I would love to discuss further on the 2 questions that I have and engage with anyone on further discussion of this. Thank you. Take care.